This story is sponsored by DigElog ROCORI 2.0. The DigElog network now publishes to Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, so we are where you are. DigElog ROCORI 2.0, where ROCORI people connect. 1 month ago, just before the Oscar Awards in February of 2009, DigElog ROCORI had the chance to sit down and talk to Chaplain Gerard Dols. Growing up in Richmond, Minnesota, Dols made a connection with Harvey Milk, the main character in the film Milk. Although he would not know it at the time, this connection would completely change Dols' life. In our final interview with Chaplain Gerard Dols, he discusses what happened after Harvey Milk was assassinated and his current ventures in life serving the Lord.
Well, there was a book that came out about Harvey Milk. It was written by Randy Schultz. It's called Mayor of Castle Street. That came out a few years later. The author never interviewed me, and he interviewed Don Amador about me. So I'm in 4 pages of the book, and in the book it says I was in a wheelchair, and I was never in a wheelchair. I think he just ad-libbed to it, and then it talks about Richmond, Minnesota. The boy from Richmond is in the book. And then after that, my life just started to grow in the Lord, and went to healing school at Rhema Bible School in Tulsa for 2 years. Went to school at School of the Ministry in St. Louis Park, and then I became a chaplain a couple years ago. We had a school in Burnsville where I became a chaplain. And I'm really happy. I work at an alcohol drug rehab, Salvation Army. I work at Dorothy Day Center, and I belong to the Capitol Prayer Network at the Capitol. So my life is fulfilled. I will say this, I kept my life a secret for 30 years, meaning I didn't just talk about Harvey Milk until November 26th. The movie came out called Milk. And I went to the movie because I was told by my nephew that there's a possibility that there's a character playing my part. I went to the movie, and there was 2 parts that I was in. The first part was not true. I did not meet him that way. But the second part was exactly the way it happened. I was with Don Amador the night that the No 1 won, and we did call him, and I told Harvey Milk that told him that I voted for the first time. I was 18 years old. I voted. I want to meet my hero. That's in the book, and that was all true in the movie. He was very compassionate. I think he was very deceived by the gay community. I just think, but he was very compassionate. He reminds me of Paul Wellstone. He really believed in his stuff, you know. Harvey really believed in his stuff. He really cared about people. And I know that if I would have gone there, if Jack would not have committed suicide, if I would have gone there, I know he would have really watched over me. He never took advantage of me with my discussions with him. He was very polite, really respectful. I'm sad because he never had an opportunity that I had to meet the Lord. And so I'm sad about that. You know, I carry this heart. This heart represents my heart. And it describes what happened to me. My heart was really dead before I met the Lord. And the day, you know, when I look at this heart, I just see a nice heart, but it was just so empty. And there was no life in it. I didn't see any life in it. And the day that I accepted Jesus into my heart, you know, that light that came inside me, this light became this heart. And this just represents what happened to my life. My heart was changed. I went from darkness to light. And I use this as a little symbol of what happened to me. This light just became so bright. And God's still working on my heart. He's changing me every day. So this is what happened to me when I got born again. I let Jesus be born into my heart, and that his light came inside my heart. God's taking something really bad and turning it for good. There's, you know, when I did I've done some radio shows in Chicago, Washington, D.C., and one of my Chicago show, I got to lead people to the Lord by talking to the people in the audience, saying, you know what, there's hope for you. Hey, if you want to live the gay life, that's your business, but if you really want something better, the way that I found, you can have that opportunity to meet the Lord. And so I was able to do that, and I was so fulfilled. And I'm sure there's people in Richmond, Cold Spring, Rockville area that suffer with this. So if I could help one person in my hometown or Rockville, or, you know, hey, I'm doing what I'm called to do. You know, before the movie came out, my life was just so simple. I'm working at 3 different places, or I'm at 3 places. I'm a liaison for Dorothy Day Center, which is a homeless shelter to bring gentlemen to the alcohol drug rehab. Last year I brought 32 people in, and this year I got 2 already into the rehab, and I feel so fulfilled that I'm doing God's service. I'm helping people's life to change, and when I bring the men to this the alcohol drug rehab Salvation Army, it's called ARC, Adult Rehab Center. When I bring them in there, and I see their life change, and I say, "Gee, my life changed too," and so it's really good. Born again means you let Jesus Christ be born into your heart. And it's not about having a head knowledge of who God is, it's having a heart relationship with Jesus. And that's what took place in my life 30 years ago. And if it wasn't the born again message, like I said, born again means you let Jesus Christ be born into your heart. But let him inside your heart and let him change you. What a difference. I don't just have head knowledge of Jesus, I have a heart knowledge of him, and my life has completely changed. I mean, I went from really angry, bitter, resentful, anger, to a person who's new in Jesus. I mean, you know, I'm in him now, and it's just really fulfilling. I think I want them to know that Jesus is real, that my town, you know, it wasn't easy as a born-again Christian living in Richmond in the 70s or late 70s. I mean, I was very, they thought I was in a cult or whatever, but it was like, I just wanted them to know, I mean, I am the happiest I could ever be, and I just want my hometown to know that, and I made a difference. I'm making a difference in people's lives. You know, I just want them to see the Christ that's born inside of me.